The White Lotus, Series 3, Episode 3, titled The Meaning of Dreams. Now, this episode I found to be a hell of a lot better than last week's episode. I wasn't that much of a fan of last week's episode, but when it comes to this week, I'm like, the character dynamics are more interesting. The friendship, like the three girls, right? Kate, Lori, and Jacqueline. Those three, that dynamic is fascinating. Because it is kind of showing a friendship. Like, it is kind of the classic, right? As much as you love someone, as much as, like, if it's a family member, if it's a friendship, if it's a full-on relationship with someone, as much as you love them, there are things that will drive you nuts about them, right? Not everyone's perfect, and sometimes you want to kind of rant on those like elements that drive you off the wall with other people. And each week we have kind of followed that with like, oh, Lori, because Kate and Jacqueline talk about their marriage and love and kids and all that kind of stuff. But because Lori has, experienced that and feels a sense of loneliness, she feels a sense of insecurity. She feels like she's one foot into the grave and doesn't have that sense of, she probably feels like she's missing out on things just because, it can be nice. Like, you don't want to die alone. I always say technically we all die alone. But anyway, she doesn't want to die alone, that type of thing, right? But then last week, it was all about, Lori and Kate not, Jacqueline talking about her Hollywood experience in LA and that whole thing, because she's a public figure and she's an actress and all that. And she, just naturally just talk about her experience, and just naturally for Kate and Lori, it comes across as bagging. It comes across as a little bit of, oh, what, because you got like an Oscar and a Hollywood Walk of Fame, and you have a $1 billion franchise, and this and that you're better than everyone. Like, you can tell, like, it also kind of shows like the Hollywood changing thing, where what happens when you have the one friend who's more successful than all the others. There might be a slight of unintentional jealousy, because as much as you want to treat them as regular people, a part of you feel a sense of, it's like money is meant to buy you happiness, can't buy you happiness, but we want to believe in that, and believe money will solve your problems. We want to believe that so hard that it's just, kaputs and everything. This episode is all about political sides now, and how different these three girls are, well, on the political side of things. Now, this is clearly meant to reference when they talk about, did Kate vote for Trump? Clearly they're talking about the 2020 election. They're talking about that election. The one that everyone was like, it took 5 days for them to get the results. Anyway, that's the results. The election to talk about. But it shows the differences of it. And this is probably the reason why people say don't talk about religion and politics, because politics, people tied their politics as part of their identity, and the moment you start not like unintentionally like questioning it, but as the moment you start poking it, start questioning it, people get easily defensive, and that's what Kate feels. She, like, the moment she is from Austin, Texas. She's part of some church. Apparently, the people at the church are very nice people. But, because, Texas and religious folks, there's a mindset that they're very heavy on the white side of things. Jacqueline and Lori, who are from LA and New York, who are very heavy on the left side of the political aspect, are just thinking, oh, okay, she voted for Trump. Okay. And I'm wondering if, and because of the political aspect of things, it's just starting to change the election. Maybe my guess what's going to happen is this is a friendship that's going to slowly fall apart. In a week, it's going to be like three people together in a week, and all the issues are going to just fibble away. Just gonna fibble away, and I'm just waiting for a good old three-way yelling match in a week or two. Like, I just wait for that. Hell, we made it in episode 7. Hell, knowing it was it was more like a shooting than just one person getting shot. Knowing there was multiple fighters getting shot, I wouldn't be shocked that it was one of the actors. Well, basically those three getting, it's the dead body or bodies. I actually think we all think it's one body, but I think it's multiple. Knowing we had multiple shots in episode 1, so we also got that. There's also stuff doing with Wick and his fascination towards the main owner of the hotel, and him saying he's from Hollywood and he's a producer and wants to have her back there acting. I'm thinking, is that really the case? Is that really the case, or is there more to it? Because I don't really think he is like, hi, I'm from Hollywood, would you like to do the thing? I really think there has to be the long lost father thing. Like him saying, I never knew my dad because he was murdered. I'm wondering that was a lie. Maybe it was like, hey, it's easier to say your dad's dead than saying, hey, he left you, he didn't want to do anything with you. I think that's the reality. I think that's what actually is happening. That's why he wants to go to Bangkok. That's why he's going to fly to Bangkok. But I couldn't help but laugh. At Piper. Because Wick, is just like, can you just leave me alone? Like I love you, but can you just piss off and do your own thing, right? But she's like, no, we're a couple. We're meant to be doing couple things. Let's have fun together. Let's do all that. And, they do that by going and getting bitten by... She does that by getting bitten by a snake. But, and a cobra, all things. Oof. Get bitten by a cobra. That's a rush to the hospital and hope for God you don't get, hope you don't die. But yeah, I mean, the stuff doing with the family, for me, it all comes down to oh, they're not gonna have phones anymore. They kind of putting things away, but it does feel like next episode, Tiffany is going to tell, is going to tell Victoria what's actually happening. Because there has to be a point. As much as, clearly Timothy's trying to do, hey, let's all have fun. One last big hurrah before shit hits the fan, right? But, of course, he knows what's happening and all that. So, you know what's funny? I always felt like every time I watch an episode of the show, I'm thinking, okay, time to talk about it. And I'm thinking, oh, there's not really much to talk about here. Because I'm so used to... I'm so used to the Marvel shit, reviewing the Marvel shows and the DC shows and action heavy base episode, heavy base TV. But now White Lotus, there's a lot to talk about. Even if it's just one moment here, a moment there. But yeah, this episode is really solid, really well put together. They're hitting this boat, this yacht. Oh, by the way, yes, we got, we got Ballerina. We got Ballerina's storyline in this, where there's a little bit of romance going on between her and the worker that she's been tagged along with. And I feel that there is going to be there's a little bit of sexual tension. I think they're going to be together, or at least hook up one of the nights. Mainly, I think, but there's a little bit of that conflict. Clearly, there's going to be that conflict, where it's the whole, well, he works at the hotel. Your guess, he would be probably breaking, you know, breaking policy, the White Lotus, terms of policies, which is you can't sleep with bloody, you can't have sexual relationships with the guests, and which I get it was just probably hard because like, how you gonna meet new people at a hotel? Is that, what, I'm curious. Have people met as guests, but then they leave and technically they're not guests anymore? That's the loophole. That's the loophole. Just wait till they're not the guests anymore of the hotel. That's part of the trick. But I think there's going to be a little bit of conflict there. There's also the other guy, which is Gerlock, which is they're hinting that he wants to be a bodyguard. He wants to be a full-on bodyguard, but because of the events of last week's episode, which is clearly because of the wobbly, which I felt like why it was here. Clearly, it was here. It was there just for narrative reasons for Belloc to say, "Hey, I want to be a security guard," and we are meant to think that, oh dear, he's going to get fired by this episode. I don't think that's the case because they're hitting a little bit too much on the whole, like, oh, he's going to get fired, he's going to get fired, he's going to be fired, and we think he's done a bad job with the security guards at the bank, at the jewelry robbery. It's all those type of things, and I'm thinking that they're doing too much, like, he's going to get fired the next day. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think so. I think we're going to hit the point where they're going to think, they're going to do a bit of a misdirect, that he's going to get the bodyguard job. He's going to get a promotion. So, anyway, comment below what you thought of episode 3 of this episode. Make your thoughts known.